My next question would be, how can someone become a missionary? What are their qualifications, and what are the required things that they need to become missionaries? There are three main things that every missionary should take in consideration before they become missionaries. One, their academic preparation. Second is their psychological and their technical preparation. And third, their family preparation. Before they start evangelizing, they have to go through an academic preparation. They have to study theology, and they have to choose the evangelical organization. And this evangelical organization is like choosing a wife for them, because it has to be aligned with their doctrine, with their belief system, and they also have to be aligned with the rules that they actually feel comfortable with. So, for example, if someone is from the Baptist church, I don't think they would like to go to a Catholic church to do evangelism and so on. So they have to choose the organization that they want to evangelize at. Not only that, they also have to apply for it, because getting into an evangelical church or giving into an evangelical organization, there are so many competition at that. There are so many people who studied theology and they want to get into that business or into that job or work. That's why it is basically like choosing a wife. There are some evangelical organizations, they offer monthly salaries, but it is not recommended. Most evangelical organizations that we have right now prefer that a person can volunteer or have their own job as a doctor or a teacher or something like that, but then after that they would like to associate themselves with this person so they can get the reports from them, and so they can study that culture and study the area where he lives in or where he works at overseas, and try to have the access to evangelize the people there. But yes, of course, there are some evangelical organizations that they pay monthly salaries to these missionaries, and in this case, that means this Christian missionary has to sign on many papers. He has to waive many of his rights. In other words, he is representing this organization, and so there are so many strict rules on this missionary, and his paperwork and his application may take longer time than just a regular volunteer person who comes and volunteer for the organization. Also, these organizations need high qualifications, and as I said, there is a great competition between the missionaries. So the prerequisite to register for a theology school: first, that this person has to have a written letter from the pastor that he is a member of that church that he's applying for, and that he is also an active member. That means he helps in the activities of the meetings, conferences, activities, within the youth or children, or maybe the music, or maybe like even preaching and teaching and so on. In order to be in theology or in organization, in order to apply for an evangelical organization, a person has to have a bachelor degree in regular subject in addition to graduate degree in theology. So of course they prefer that this person has a degree, for example, in math, in science, in medicine, and so on. So when he goes overseas, he can go under the Creative Access platform, which I'm going to be talking about in different lecture, and he would be able to be working as a regular job, as a teacher, as a doctor, whatever, also passing the Bible underneath. Also, he has to have 30 credit hours from a theology graduate school, and the spouse should have 15 credit hours from a theology graduate school as well. Some of these subjects that they are taught in the theology school are Introduction to Missions, mission practicum, linguistic practicum. And I believe that I took the introduction to missions and the mission practicum back when I was in the Southwestern Baptist Seminary. High criticism of the Holy Bible, like the Old Testament and the New Testament. I took the two classes of the Old Testament, Greek and Hebrew language, history of the church, and I took the Baptist heritage, I remember that, systematic theology, contemporary evangelism, personal evangelism practicum, introduction to missiology, mission practicum, missionary anthropology, introduction to church planting, international or North America, globalization and missions strategies, church planting in the urban context, missionary anthropology, Islamic worldview, praxis or practicum in Islamic studies, sharing Christ with Muslims, Christian inquiry into Islamic faith and practice, Islamic history, culture and philosophy, Islamic texts such as Quran and Hadith, and Ishmael, Arabs in the Bible, history. And all these subjects that they are related to Islam, those are for the missionaries that they are interested to go to the Muslim world and doing some missions. Not only that, they teach a lot about the culture, about the Islamic culture, because they have so many information about the Muslims, especially the Arab world. Not only that, they also teach the texts like the Quran and the Hadith, but of course from their own perspective and views. They use the Quranic misconceptions and the Hadiths in order to slander Islam all the time. And I know a couple of the teachers who actually teach that in the theology schools. They are not Muslims, they are originally Christians, but they have lived and dedicated most of their lives studying the Quran and the Hadith from the Christian perspective, and they have many books in that account. Subhanallah. Also, a person has to study the pre-Islamic Christianity in the Middle East, preaching out to Muslim women, and they focus a lot on the Muslim women and youth because they are more receptive to the salvation message than the men. They also study the folk Islam, and the folk Islam, just like they call the Chinese the rice folks, they call them the folk Islam. And those people, the Muslims, that they go on Fridays to the khutbahs, to the prayers, and they are just the general people who are mostly not really very religious. So they studied their culture, they study the ways how to actually enter through them and talk to them about the message and try to convert them to Christianity. They also have a class about the cross-cultural witness to the gospel and ministries, and other classes as well.